Happy Wednesday and happy World Water Day. I'm your host, Mackie Kravitz, and tonight we have, ironically, the Education and Outreach member of Heal the Bay, Nancy Shrodes, here in the studio. It's going to make for a great episode, so be sure to stay tuned. Welcome back to See You at USC. I'm joined now by Nancy Shrodes. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So how is your World Water Day going so far?
It's been going well. Busy day.
Yeah. So I want to start at the beginning, Nancy. I know that you are the Education and Outreach member of Heal the Bay, and we'll talk about that later in the show. But I want to know about your life and your personal experience with everything.
Sure. I'm a local, born and raised in LA, one of those rare natives. I grew up in Manhattan Beach, so I was kind of a beach rat all my life.
Near the ocean.
Yeah, loved it. Did junior lifeguards, the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I always had a love and a passion for the ocean, but I didn't know if that was just because I loved the beautiful resource that was so close and had that appreciation, or if it expanded more than that. And so when I went to school, I went over at Tufts University in Boston.
The other side.
The other coast. You know, I knew I had to be by water, and I figured, why not try seasons?
Yeah.
It's a different experience.
Ballsy.
I know. It was a brave move. But yeah, and I totally loved it over there, and double majored in environmental science and Spanish. And so in environmental science, I really kind of focused on marine biology and just was really driven by the issues and concerned, and felt like I needed to be a part of making those changes because there are a lot of challenges that the environment faces. But again, very captivated by the water side of things. And so after college, got an internship at the Conservation Law Foundation in Boston in their oceans program. So kind of dipped my foot into the nonprofit world and see how I liked it, and I really loved the experience.
Working on the Atlantic Ocean?
Yes, and cod fisheries over there and MPAs over there. But it was a really fun experience for me, and having that taste of it, it was like, you know what, I do think this is what I want to do. And then a job brought me back to LA, and I ran a campaign office for the Fund for the Public Interest. So I worked on a lot of different grassroots progressive campaigns, working with groups like HRC and CalPIRG, Environment California, and did a lot of great work with them, but really felt drawn again to those water issues. Water is life. You know, it's what makes us unique as a planet. World Water Day, here we are. And so I was so passionate and was so much more successful with those types of issues, like the bag ban. I'd worked on that for a very long time. In fact, I had given to Environment California when I was a senior in high school with a canvasser that knocked on my door and said, these bags, they're a problem. Plastic pollution in the ocean is no joke. Turtles are eating them thinking they're jellyfish. Do you want to help? And I was like, yes, sign me up.
So what did you do for that?
Paid $20 and became a member of Environment California.
Oh,
yeah.
That's all you have to do?
That was all I had to do.
You didn't have to go and volunteer anywhere? And
not for that, just to sign up as a member, yeah. But as far as those efforts, those continued throughout, and obviously with Environment California when I was working with them, but also with Heal the Bay as we continued to work on that bag issue. So
it goes to show that really getting involved doesn't take much work at all.
Yeah, I mean, it can be as simple as making a donation to a charity that you care about. A lot of time, you know, funding is definitely an issue, especially with what's going on in today's political climate. And so definitely show that support, donate to those organizations. But beyond that, you can sign petitions, you can call a representative. And it doesn't even just have to be something that they're doing that you don't like, you know, being like, oh, you voted this way, I really want you to vote this way. You can call them and say, hey, I appreciate what you're doing. You're doing really good work. Please keep it up. I love that you supported Prop 67. Keep up the good work. Because they need to hear it all. They need to hear good and bad, because ultimately at the end of the day, they work for us, right? They want to stay in office. Got to make their constituents happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to go back for a second, because you talked about being a marine biology major, well, environmental science, marine biology.
Yeah.
So, and then your first internship was in public service and kind of nonprofit organizational skills. So was there ever a time where you wanted to be a biologist, or what was kind of like the definition there? Because there's so many routes you can take.
Yeah, I definitely for a long time thought I might have wanted to be a marine biologist. We were actually playing the Heads Up game the other day, and when my mom was trying to get my boyfriend to guess, it was like, what did she want to be when she grew up? And he was like, a mermaid. Wait, no, a marine biologist.
Everyone wants to be a mermaid when they grow up.
Who
Come
doesn't?
on, Little Mermaid inspired millions.
Absolutely. But yeah, I definitely thought I wanted to take that path, but also realized that it was not necessarily everything that I would have loved about it. Field work, being out there in the water, collecting data, that's super exciting to me.
Yeah.
But I talked to a PhD in marine bio who was saying, that's like a third of what you do. The rest is the research, the rest is the monotonous lab work. You've got to be really good at that independent time and kind of doing the same things over and over again. And I am a very sociable person to person.
Yeah.
You know, I thrive on those interactions. And so I knew, well, maybe my role isn't in the lab, but maybe my role is as someone who understands the science to connect people to the science, to really be the communicator that's able to explain these bigger things that are going on that are kind of complicated and kind of scary, and bring it to a more digestible level where your average Joe totally understands and can get behind it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that, and I can see that in you right now, just as we talk.
Thanks.
You do not belong in a lab.
It's a tough one, yeah.
Yeah. Were there any events growing up that really shaped you and made you more passionate about this type of field of work?
Yeah, definitely a lot of events. I actually had an internship in college at the Roundhouse Aquarium prior to, I graduating, and so that work with the community and educating the public around the animals was great. But I think a lot of what I learned in school and making it relate to outside of what you see is really important. Yeah.
What were the biggest differences from being on the East Coast and then the West Coast?
Snow.
Well, yeah.
No, as far as
I guess beach
experience
pollution or kind of more environmental issues.
Yeah. So there's a lot of similar issues, and certainly a theme that I studied throughout college was concentrated around climate change and global warming, and that is not just a here or there issue, right? This is a global issue that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's not forever in the future. We're talking about changes we're already starting to see. We're talking about crazy changes, in the next decade, in the next 50, 100 years, So there's definitely a lot of situations in terms of environmental concerns, environmental issues that are similar, here or there, but also some that are very, very different. So as far as fisheries are concerned, and overfishing, and marine protected areas, kind of these underwater parks that protect really vulnerable and valuable areas, either a fishing nursery or a breeding ground to help species rebound. Those are on both sides of the coast, and those are really amazing. But I would say maybe something different that I got to work on a little bit more in depth at Heal the Bay is some of our water issues. Massachusetts, a lot of rain, a lot of snow.
They're good.
They don't have to worry about that so much. But in California, after living through our 5-year drought and learning more about the intricacies of our water system and how outdated and broken it is. The fact that we import 80% of our water from hundreds of miles away, and that these systems aren't foolproof and they have their own environmental issues going on. So there's certain things that kind of resound in both areas, but then you can get a little more specific with it too.
It's funny that you mentioned water because it is World Water Day. I'm just going to push that the whole time because I just think it's so relevant. But now that we're getting more rain in California, how is that going to change our current situation or the situation we've had in the recent years?
Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of people are just like, oh, we have rain, we're out of the drought.
Yeah.
But, Southern California, a good majority of us are still in drought. And the thing to understand about California is we've always had these boom and bust cycles. We get, the El Nino years of really heavy rain and then drier periods of time. But now with climate change and rising temperatures, we're going to see longer periods of drought, shifts in weather patterns. So places where we used to see snow, now we may see more rain. And that's very difficult because in LA, we drink snow melt.
Yeah.
The water that we're drinking is snow melting and then going into our reservoirs, filling our rivers, and then we're taking that again from Northern California, from the Eastern Sierras, the Northern Sierras, from the Rocky Mountains, from the Colorado River Aqueduct. So when we see those changes, now all of a sudden that snow is going to melt sooner, and we won't be able to hold on to it Because right now we hold on to it, and then in the summertime when it's hot and we really need it in Southern California, it starts to melt. They can release more down to us, right? But we won't have the capacity to take advantage of the precipitation that we have. So it doesn't necessarily change things in the long run all that much.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm so happy that we've gotten some rain and some snow. This is amazing. But I don't want people to forget the bigger picture that I'm playing the long game. You know, you can think of it kind of as a bank account, more or less, where that rain coming down, you know, that's the income that you're getting all the time. And then you have your checking account, and that is more like our reservoirs. But what we're really concerned about is the groundwater, which is your savings account. And if that's really depleted, if you don't have a lot of savings, it takes a long time for that to kind of trickle down. So in the immediate now, yes, things are okay. But again, I really think for a sustainable Los Angeles, we need to think about our water future beyond next year. Yeah.
So you said that 80% of our water is transported here.
Yeah.
Where is this water coming from, and how is it getting here?
Great question. So there's 3 major aqueducts that are imported supplies that feed Los Angeles. So one is the Colorado River Aqueduct, and so that's coming from snowmelt from the Rocky Mountains that goes through the Colorado River, right? And that comes to us here. And then we also get snowmelt from the Eastern Sierras in the Owens Valley. That's called the LA Aqueduct.
Okay.
If you live in Los Angeles, you have access to that water. We get about 30% of our water there. But if you live outside of Los Angeles, no go for you.
So outside of Los Angeles, like the San Fernando valleys and...
Just outside of the city of LA. Okay. So if you're LA County, you can't have that water. If you're city of Glendale, you don't have that water either. It's owned and operated by LADWP, Los Angeles Department of Water and
Why is
Power.
that a law? Why does that happen?
Well, they bought the rights and they built the aqueduct, so it serves their people, their ratepayers and everything. So that's another source of water there. And then we also have the State Water Project, or also known as the California Aqueduct, and that takes snowmelt from the northern Sierra Mountains, also pulls water from the San Francisco Bay Delta, San Joaquin Valley, and that draws water all the way up north, bringing it down south. And actually moving that water up and over the Tehachapi Mountains is the single largest energy lift in the state of California. Yeah.
More than any factory, any...
Just moving water up and over that mountain
Something
range.
so trivial, you wouldn't even...
Except it's half of our water, so...
We take it for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. But they all have their own environmental issues. For 16 years, the Colorado River didn't meet the Sea of Cortez. That's how much we drained it, and we're only one of 7 other states that rely on that water source. So there is an issue in terms of negotiation and who gets what, because it's not just California that's in a drought. You know, the whole Southwest was kind of suffering in a similar situation.
Yeah.
So, there's definitely issues there. If that estuary now no longer has fresh water issues, right? And in Owens Lake, we actually sucked the lake dry in 1926, and it's the single largest source of dust pollution in the U.S., of that dry lake bed and everything kind of moving around.
Wow.
Yeah. And in the north, we can sometimes reverse the flow of the river just because of how much water we're pumping and sucking through. And there's been environmental litigation for like 30 years over that water. So.
Wow. This is also interesting. I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
But thank you so much.
You're
Unfortunately,
welcome.
we have to take a quick commercial break.
You got it.
But we will be back with Nancy Shrodes to hear more about Heal the Bay right after this break. See you soon. Welcome back to See You at USC. I'm joined by Nancy Shrodes, who is the Education and Outreach Manager for Heal the Bay. Now, Nancy, how did you get initially involved with Heal the Bay?
So I was always aware of Heal the Bay, having been raised in LA, but they had an opening for the volunteer manager position, and I saw that and I just went, oh my gosh, this looks perfect, because I did want to go back to my water roots and
come back home.
Yeah, So I ended up getting that job, working as the volunteer manager for about a year and a half, and then got promoted to the education and outreach manager. So in the beginning, I was doing more volunteer work as far as running orientations and being like the face of Heal the Bay, coordinating our outreach presence at festivals and fairs, and throwing our huge volunteer party and helping with our annual gala, our biggest fundraiser of the year. And so then when I moved to Education Outreach Manager, now I'm doing a lot more work in the classroom. So I run our Speakers Bureau program where we train volunteers. I just finished training actually yesterday. It's a 4-part training where we get volunteers ready to go into any situation all over LA County and be able to talk about the type of work that we do. So that could be a 3rd grade classroom, it could be a high school assembly, it could be a college class, or I've even given a presentation for seniors at a Denny's once. So really anywhere and everything in between, we're there. It's a free program we offer. It's really quite amazing. So I love that kind of educational stuff that I get to do. I help run a field trip called Lunch and Learn, which is so much fun. We take Title I students to Dukes in Malibu.
Dukes in Malibu, it's a great place.
It's a great place.
I mean, Malibu's a great place to just look at, and you guys are helping protect that.
Yeah.
So.
And a lot of these kids, you know, they've maybe gone to the beach once or twice before, maybe not. And this is a resource where it's a bus ride away, right? So it's really great to be able to bring them out to that. And then I also do a lot more of our grassroots campaign work as well. So one big one as far as the educational realm last year is a project we call Know the Flow. And that was a water literacy campaign to educate Southern Californians about where our water's coming from. So a lot of that stuff we were talking about.
Yeah, earlier.
Yeah, because when you turn on the water, where does it come? They say, oh, from the faucet? Or from Oregon? You know, so it's really important to be able to, you know, we know that we've suffered through this drought, we've had these issues, we have these long-term issues that we need to change, but you can't effectively change without that knowledge. And that's what really motivates things for me. I truly, as cliche as it may sound, I truly believe that knowledge is power. And the more people you can educate about an issue and make them aware of what's going on, then you can start to activate change. Because people do want to help, they do, but if they don't know about a problem, how are they supposed to fix it? You know, so we actually reached out to over 27,000 people throughout Los Angeles with this program. So if folks want to know more at home, it's knowtheflow.la, where they can learn more about where their water's coming from and different things they can do to help out. And then I've also done a lot of policy work as far as grassroots campaigning in this realm and in this position.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Wow, you've done a lot. So that was your personal accomplishments within Heal the Bay.
Yeah.
What are Heal the Bay's current goals?
Yeah, so Heal the Bay works to make sure that our watersheds, our inland rivers and streams, as well as our coastal ocean, are clean, healthy, and safe. And we do that through research, education, community action, as well as advocacy.
So are there specific topics or certain beaches that you guys focus on every given month or so? How does it usually work?
Yeah, so we work to protect LA County. That's kind of our service area. We're a hyper-local nonprofit. We only have our office in Santa Monica and our aquarium in Santa Monica. That's it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we definitely get involved in statewide issues as they come up, as it affects us, as it's a precedent-setting thing. It's very important that we weigh in on those issues. But so as far as the beaches that we impact, again, our service area is LA County, but we have things like the Beach Report Card, where we test water quality for 500 beaches up and down the West Coast. So that's not even specific necessarily to California. And just seeing how well the water's doing. So when I talk about water quality, I'm talking about how much bacteria is in the water, because that's how people can get sick. They can get a lot of gastrointestinal diseases like eye infection, ear infection, skin rash, gross
you don't
stuff
want that
you
from
really
swimming
don't
in the
want.
ocean.
Like if you're catching a cool wave, you don't want to come home sick.
Yeah.
So we have those, getting tested. We analyze it. We compile it into our beach report card so that folks can literally go online and before they hit the beach, see how well their beach is doing. So that's a really great way to hone in those efforts. And as far as our cleanup efforts and beaches like that, we spread the love throughout the Santa Monica Bay with our Nothing But Sand cleanups. Those happen 3 times a month. Or excuse me, the 3rd Saturday of every month.
Okay.
But every month it happens, and it's from 10 to noon, and the beach just varies.
And anyone can go to those or sign up?
Anyone can go to those, yeah, absolutely. And if they want to know more information about, where the next one is, they can go healthebay.org/events. And that's where we have our calendar of events. I think the one that's pretty cool as far as reach and service area is Coastal Cleanup Day. That's the largest cleanup event in the world, and it happens the 3rd Saturday in September. So on that day, we have about 50 sites all over Los Angeles. Yeah. So it's not just on the beach. It's up at Lake Balboa. It's along the LA River. It's in Compton Creek. So we are really kind of everywhere in this effort. Last year we had over 10,000 volunteers pick up around 30,000 pounds of trash.
Wow,
So,
that's a lot.
A big, big effort.
Wow.
So it's a really wonderful day to be a part of, this kind of larger wave of action that goes around the world.
I see you there. I see you with the puns. So I know that March is kind of wrapping up, and we're going to get into April soon, which is Earth Month, right?
Earth Month, absolutely.
So what kind of event, do you have any special events going on for April, or that you want to talk about?
Sure. Heal the Bay has a couple of really fun events coming up. One of the big ones we have is our Nothing But Sand cleanup in April, which is on March 15th from 10 to noon at the Santa Monica Pier.
March 15th or?
April 15th.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I'm caught in March Madness and Water Day, you know? Yes, April 15th for, in preparation of Earth Day, we have this big cleanup at the Santa Monica Pier. And that's a really, really fun event. There'll be a sandcastle competition going on at the same time. A lot of fun. And then actually on Earth Day, on Saturday, our aquarium is having an Earth Day celebration. So at the Santa Monica Pier, just beneath that merry-go-round, you can find our aquarium, and there'll be lots of fun things going on to celebrate Earth Day. We're also organizing folks to go to the climate march, the science march, which is on the 22nd, Earth Day, right?
Yeah.
So April 22nd, we're also having a lot of folks go down to Pershing Square for the science march.
What's the science march?
So it's organized all over. One of my favorite ads for it is a campaign that says, "What do we want? Evidence-based facts. When do we want it? After it's been peer-reviewed, But basically just saying science matters, and we're not talking about theoretical things. We're talking about facts and figures, and we want to support sciences. And that's how, that's what our base is. We're at Heal the Bay, we're an environmental watchdog, and it's because we stick to the science.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important. We're talking about alternative facts. We're talking about the facts.
It's not just pretty animals and cleaning beaches.
No. So we think it's really important to make that stand. So we're organizing a lot of folks to meet up at the Starbucks outside of Pershing Square at about 8 a.m. for kickoff at 9.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what other types of recommendations would you give to LA natives or just people in general that want to get involved and help save kind of our oceans and climate and all that?
Yeah, I think, again, getting information, being informed is so important. So knowing what you're looking at, making sure that it's a good source that you're finding and it's not some random thing on the internet that someone just put up for fun, right? But then, as I was mentioning, there's tons of different ways to take action. Joining us for beach cleanup is awesome. But you know what? You can even organize an own cleanup in your neighborhood. We're all connected through the storm drain system and through our watershed. So what's happening on the streets of Pasadena affects the health of our ocean and our beach just the same that it does if you're living right on the beach in Venice. So it's really important not only to take action on the beach, but also in your own communities. And again, on that local level, there's a lot of things you can do. You can go to City Hall if you want to, and go to those council meetings and advocate for something different. Like if you want to see a styrofoam ban in your city and there isn't one, talk about that. Try and get it on the agenda. Find other groups that are thinking of doing the same thing. But again, it can be as simple as making a phone call too, signing a petition. There's all sorts of ways to get involved and really make a difference. There's decisions in your own personal life you can make too.
That was going to be my next question, because our demographic is mostly college students and we don't have a lot of time, to like go to these events and stuff. So what are maybe 3 easy tips that you would just give to students?
Okay. Tip number 1, you guys are right by the expo line.
We are.
You are so lucky. So use it. Utilize it. That thing goes all the way to the beach in Santa Monica.
It goes to Santa Monica now, yeah.
Yeah. So, doing what you can to reduce your carbon footprint is really helpful. And so I would say definitely try and do public transit as often as you can. Less Ubers, less sitting in traffic. Just fly by them on the train, right? I would definitely say making sure that you recycle. That is, reduce, reuse, recycle. It seems like an age-old verbiage, but it is really true. We live in a consumer society that is single-use, one and done. So if you do have that plastic water bottle, make sure it goes in the recycle bin. Make sure it gets another life and can become something else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another thing you can do with Heal the Bay, one of the campaigns we're working on is called Rethink the Drink this year. Yeah. So as far as, pollution and trash in our environment, 38% of it is drink related, be that straws, styrofoams, bottle caps, lids, stirs. And so there's lots of easy things you can do to mitigate that. It can be as simple as being at a restaurant and ordering water and asking the waiter, oh, can you hold the straw? You don't need a straw, right, to drink that water. Or, bringing your reusable mug to Starbucks. You can get a 10-cent discount. That adds up after a while. I know, balling on a budget in college. So, just making some of those own personal consumer choices in your own life.
And my final question would be, what inspires you?
That's a really tough one, and I think the biggest thing that inspires me every day are the people I'm fortunate enough to work with and the kids that I educate. They get so excited when you're in the room and they want to share all the facts that they know about the environment and the ocean.
They're the most passionate ones.
Yeah, and they're the ones that are going to be the game changers. We're starting this, but at the end of the day, it's us and it's the ones after us that really have to clean up this mess and make it better, right?
Thank you so much, Nancy, for coming out on the show. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today, but be sure to check out Heal the Bay and tune in to see you at USC every weeknight here at 6:30. Good night.
Incredible. One of the worst performances of my career, and they never doubted it for a second. I mean, how could they expect me to handle school on a day like this? This is my 9th sick day of the semester. It's getting pretty tough coming up with new illnesses, so I better make this one count. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop to look around once in a while, you might just